Absolutely. Thank
Senator,
you for that.
you're welcome, ma'am. Senator Francis Heyliger, you're recognized for your 10 minutes. Before you start, is there anyone in the chambers with you today?
No, I'm the only one here.
Okay, okay. Thank you. You may
Thank you
proceed.
so much. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to the
Good morning.
testifiers, to my colleagues. Good morning to the people of this territory. I want to thank this agency for coming before us, as we have quite a bit of questions that I personally would like to dive into. First of all, I want to ask the Department of Justice in regards to specifically testimony given by the AG. On page 7, you spoke about the court case, and it says, in regards to GRS, it says GRS chronic underfunding is not judicial but legislative. And you referenced that. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Well, I was actually quoting, just so everyone could know, it was really a
Yes.
quote from the Third Circuit. Yeah. So that was the words of the court.
Yes. I am aware it's from the court. I'm asking you, do you think it's a fair assessment from their thought process?
I think it is legislative in the sense that only the legislature has the funding power. But I believe that it is not only a legislative, and I believe that we have to work together as bodies of the different branches, which is legislative, as well as the executive, to come up with the solutions. So that would be my answer.
And I happen to agree with you. That's why I wanted to touch on that, because this body can create laws for funding, but if the executive branch does not execute those laws, for example, we've had many situations where laws are already on the books to turn funding over to GRS, and it just doesn't happen. And it creates that void for that incoming cash flow that at times have played a role in where GRS is today. So I wouldn't just say it's legislative, and I totally agree with you that the legislature, in conjunction with the executive branch, has to work together. You also made reference to a section on April the 22nd, 2021, the Superior Court, Albert Bryan versus, and the government of the Virgin Islands versus the Virgin Islands Government Hospitals and Health Facilities Corporation. When I was reading through that documentation, and it kept referencing the Revised Organic Act, where in the Revised Organic Act do you believe gave you guys the authority to file this suit in regards to saying that basically the legislature cannot alter current laws to take away the governor from appointing individuals to boards? Can you tell me where in the Revised Organic Act that came from?
Well, what I'm going to first specifically, I'll just tell you first. It comes from Section 11 of the Revised Organic Act of 1954, which specifically generally gives the governor the authority, the supervisory authority over all boards, commissions of the government of the Virgin Islands, whether they be independent instrumentalities or not, or boards and commissions of the executive branch, rather. So Section 11 clearly gives the governor the supervisory authority over every single one. And then it derives from there. If you want more specific, actually who handled this would be Attorney Smith, who was the chief of the civil division, can give you more details with respect to the authority. But what has been done, it's not even, okay, there was a stipulation. So what it is that decision has been made in that case, and we're just awaiting the opinion from the court. Go ahead, Attorney Smith. Would you like Attorney Smith to respond?
Yes, I would love to hear what they have to say. Thanks.
Yeah, Attorney Smith, can you respond to the senator, please?
Good morning. I was looking for the specific language in the Revised Organic Act so I can address your question specifically, but I echo what the Attorney General has already articulated, that each branch has specific authority. And this lawsuit is premised on the fact that the governor has specific authority with regard to appointments to executive for executive operations, which is what the hospital corporation is, an executive operation. It's not part of the judicial and it's not part of the legislative. And so
Yes.
that is the genesis of what this derives from. And I will look for that specific language and get it to you.
Well, I actually want to read it for you because it caused me a little bit of confusion because I did sit here and pull it up. And you're talking about executive branch subsection 16C, where it says appointments of department heads, tenures, removal, powers, and duties. Is that the section you're speaking about in regards to appointments?
I would need to look at it for myself to make sure that we're looking at the same thing.
Well, let me just read this section. The heads of the executive departments created by this act, which is the Revised Organic Act, shall be appointed by the governor with advice and consent of the legislature. Each shall hold office during the continuance in office of the governor by whom he is appointed and until his successor is appointed and qualified unless sooner removed by the governor. Each shall have powers and duties as may be prescribed by the legislature. The chairman and members of any board, authority, or commission established by the laws of the Virgin Islands shall, if laws of the Virgin Islands hereforth provide, also by appointment of the governor, with the advice and consent of the legislature, if such board, authorities, or commission has quasi-judicial functions, provide that no laws of the Virgin Islands dealing with the chairmanship, membership, or chairmanship and membership of any such board. So I read this, and I was very much concerned when this lawsuit came about because I was very concerned about the executive branch reaching to the point where they feel that the legislature, who has the authority to create the boards even based on this, and even in here it specifically referenced that if the legislature provides that authority, I'm trying to understand that if in all aspects it still references back to the legislature's approval. It still references back to the legislature creating laws as such. I'm trying to understand, how do we get to the point of suing volunteers and individuals that are volunteering to be on these boards and appointed to these boards to stop something that, from what I'm reading, the Revised Organic Act gives us the authority to do?
Okay, with all due respect, our interpretation of the Revised Organic Act differs from your interpretation, but I do not think that this is appropriate for this discussion because it's currently before the court. And so I think that that's where the decision needs to be made, and the arguments have been made before the court, and if the court agrees with your interpretation, the decision will be made by the court. But
and thank you so much for that.
Our legal arguments before the court.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I just wanted to put that on the record since the AG made it a part of her testimony. I want to also ask another question in regards to, you spoke about, we had a meeting, I think it was last week, in regards to a gun control law and having reciprocation in regards to individuals coming into the territory, getting licenses, and clearly the majority of this legislature did not really appreciate that piece of legislation. Do you have an official stance, AG, in regards to that piece of legislation? Because I know you were not able to make it to that hearing that day.
I have not reviewed it. Actually, it's in entirety, and I was not there, as that's indicated, because I did not get the. I really was not notified. I did not know that the hearing was coming up. The notice had not arrived to me, but I cannot comment on it. No, I cannot take a stance. I do not have a stance because I have not done a thorough review and research with respect to that particular matter.
Okay, thank you.
1 minute.
I want to touch a little bit on paternity and child support. One of the things that my office gets inundated with has to do with a lot of mothers and custodial parents having issues with monies being collected. And this is an ongoing conversation. I literally had one with a mother of 3 daughters about a week ago, and she has been trying to get funding from their father for the last few years. Every time apparently he works, people know where he's working. She goes and reports the information to the agency, but it seems like she feels she's not getting any traction. And these stories are endless in our community. What is your agency doing to assist to clean this up, to make sure that the children of our territory are being financially provided for by the non-custodial parents when these types of issues, and you guys are the guardians of trying to make sure this funding is turned over to the parents?
Right. And the complaints, we hear them, and they have continued. When I came on board from the very beginning, at the outset, it was clear, as I indicated to the legislature, that under the Paternity and Child Support Division was severely understaffed. What we're doing to address the situation is that we have reorganized and have sought funding. And right now we're at the place where the 33rd legislature was able to appropriate certain funding, and we've used that funding to build the staff, the necessary staff that we need. Now, with respect to the collections issue, up until, if you think about this, up until just, I guess about a month ago, we had no investigators or special agents within the paternity and child support. That is a part of the hiring process. In fact, I should say we just had one. And so now we have hired, as I indicated, I think, and Mr. Joseph, he can correct me, but I think we have about 4 have been hired at least, because I've had to swear them in. And they will immediately, as I said in my testimony, start investigating the backlog. We've hired a number of caseworkers, case administrators, and client facilitators. These are the people who bring in the cases. We've hired at least 15 employees, including all of those, with the intention of them being able to address the backlog, address the shortfall, so that all of these cases are finally going to be able to be effectively get the attention that it needs, and we'll be able to effectively enforce and collect, which, yes, I agree fully, is what the children of the Virgin Islands and families deserve. So yes, what I met, it's way different than what it was when I met it. When you're understaffing an agency and you don't have the resources, there's no way we can provide the services. So immediately what we did from the very beginning is start to get the staff, qualified personnel, investigators, so that we can get on this collection issue. We may not see the results immediately, but it's definitely going to start now.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that, and I'm very happy to hear that, and I'm going to look forward to hearing about the updates as to the necessary funding getting into the hands of the parents to take care of our Virgin Islands young people. Thank you so much for the indulgence, Mr. Chair.
If I may.
Yeah, Mr.
If I may. Yes. Senator, I will ask.
Excuse me, please state your name.
You provide my office.
Please state your name before you speak, sir.
Oh, sorry. Terrence Joseph, Director of Paternity and Child Support. If I may, I will ask the indulgence of your office if you can provide us the individuals that having such difficulty in regards to payments. We will assign an investigator to immediately deal with that situation. So if you can provide us that information, I'll appreciate it.
Yes, I will be happy to provide the several that I do have. Thank you so much.
I have no problem with that. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your line of questioning, Senator Francis Heyliger. Senator Alma Francis Heyliger, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon once again to the testifiers, to my colleagues, to the people of the territory. Along the lines of what my colleague in St. Croix was just speaking about in regards to attorneys, I want to ask the question, what exactly, or what's the average time does it take for you to actually recruit an attorney to the Department of Justice?
Good afternoon, Senator Heyliger Francis. Michael Trotman, Human Resources Director. On average, to bring an Assistant Attorney General on board, it takes about 60 days.
About 60 days. Another aspect that was discussed earlier in regards to attorneys departing the agency. Have you guys done any research as to why? Is it for retirement? They have issues with pay? Is it about the caseload? Have you done any data collection as to why they're leaving the department?
We usually do what we do are exit interviews, either through HR, Mr. Trotman, he can address that, but also even individually, usually I have discussions with them as well, because I just want to talk, but a lot of times it has to do with, they want to move on and a lot of times it's related to getting a better offer, that they can refuse. But
so
would you like?
Basically, we got to do better with pay.
That's one main thing I would say, yes.
Okay, one of the main things. Okay.
Yes.
As it relates to your budget for this upcoming year, because I know you guys have to come before us to present, have you thought about any recommendations for pay raises specifically for AGs so that they could be retained within the department and or potentially altering of starting salaries? Is this something that you're looking at in your presentation before the body this year?
Yes, that is definitely something that's in discussions that we've been looking at and everything. We've had discussions. Yes, definitely.
Okay. Okay. One of the other things I want to ask, I know you guys are very interdependent when it comes to dealing with different agencies. So, for example, the Virgin Islands Police Department, which you have a direct correlation with in regards to, they pick up people, they deal with the cases, they have to get transferred down to the AG's office. Do you feel, based on how the department is running right now, some think it's very positive, some have issues across the board. How is your interaction with the VI Police Department? And do you see it as a positive one, or do you see there's room for improvement? And where can those improvements come?
Well, first of all, I would say that the relationship between the VIPD, and I'm talking about the VIPD officers and everything, and the prosecutors in our office is very good. I've even asked the question a couple of weeks ago. And there's always room for improvement. I don't care how good or great you are. There's always room for improvement. But but they really work very well together, and it's absolutely necessary because as I always say, a crime is not really solved at arrest; it's solved at conviction. So the VIPD and the prosecutor's office, our prosecutors have to work hand in hand, and with respect to the investigation, arrests, and the prosecution of those crimes. And that is good on both districts, both St. Thomas and St. Croix. It is reported that the relationship is good.
Good. I wanted to ask another question in regards to paternity and child support. I know one of the rules, I believe, if bills are not paid, their license could be taken away, passport, and a variety of things such as this. What has been done in regards to that for those that are not fulfilling their obligation? Do you guys do a full follow-through continuously or consistently in regards to levying those punishments as incentives for parents that are not paying to do what they should do?
I will refer this question to Mr. Joseph.
Good afternoon. Once again to listening audience.
Afternoon.
Terrence D. Joseph, the Department of Justice, Paternity and Child Support Director. Yes, and one of the things we have done in the past couple of, I would say, weeks.
Mr. Joseph, your camera is off. Your camera is off. No problem.
Oh, I
is
see.
it still off?
Yeah, we can.
Can you see me?
We can't see you. No, go ahead. We can't see you, but go ahead.
Hold it, Senator, Sam.
But Senator, your camera is off on my, just to say, I can see Mr. Joseph, but I cannot see you, Senator.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
No, well, I haven't finished. I was about to tell you we have leveled over 2,000 individuals territory-wide for passports. That's automatically taken. And we have levied over 2,000 as well for driver's license. What we're doing right now, because we have investigators, we're embarking on having those documents be forwarded and followed up with the BMV to make sure those individuals' driver's license are revoked. And also
Okay,
we're doing the same as over to the licensing department.
excellent. I want to ask, based on these actions, have you found that these actions have somewhat encouraged the parents that need to pay to actually do it? Because we want to know when we create laws or laws on the books that they're actually getting the job done.
Well, I would, yes, for the passport, absolutely. For the business license, absolutely. For the driver's license, I would add Terrence Joseph, once again, I'm sorry. I would add Director of Child Support. I would add that we include registration so it could be more timely. Because you know the span of time over when your driver's license is revoked or when your driver's license is received is a 5-year span. And if we were to do it on a yearly basis, it will have more impact, sudden impact on the finances in regards to that individual having the willingness not to pay or the willingness to pay the agency.
Because that leaves a door open that if they happen to have registered and then all of a sudden 1 year, they might have 4 years before their license expires and they can't renew it.
And that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you so much for this information.
I'm just saying as a recommendation that it would help if the legislation went that far as you refer to driver's license registration.
Well, I know some of this is on the federal level as well, but for example, for the local level, the question I want to ask, can legislation say, for example, if you are on the list that your license can be suspended as opposed to wait and roll around for registration? Is that what you're saying? Could be a possibility?
Yes, and also to include your registration, your inability to register vehicles. Because what you would do is have a driver's license, and your inability to register vehicles should also be suspended.
Okay, well, thank you for that information. Mr. Chair, I appreciate your indulgence of time.
You're very welcome, Senator Alma Francis Heyliger. Thank you for